Good morning, West Virginia. We're not even a full month in, and it's already been a long summer, a summer that hasn't been kind to us. There's only one way out, and that is to prioritize the people of the state, not the politics of the state. I stand here today, Sean Hornbuckle, leader of the Democrats, to once again talk about our plan to turn the state around and to get our priorities in order. Our House Democrat caucus has listened to the kitchen table issues statewide and will keep pushing forward ideas that people are being helped, but not split people. Our plan includes prioritizing the creation of jobs, bringing utility bills down, increasing access to health care, especially in our more rural areas, improving our child care, and making sure that no matter how much money you make or where you live, you have access to clean drinking water. Now, let me be very clear. Under my watch, we have always been and will always strive to be in a bipartisan manner, but we will always stand up to the people of West Virginia when the Republicans are not putting them first and instead putting extremism on a political pedestal. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our current priority as a caucus for the state, which is flooding. End of story. We've seen what it's done to southern West Virginia. We've seen what it's done to north central West Virginia. We've seen how it's crushed people in Triadelphia. And there's actually been deaths in our state. We've also seen just yesterday the flooding that's happened in Huntington. Now, my heart goes out to each and every one in our state that's been impacted by this flooding and will continue to be impacted by this flooding. And I want to make it clear as well, we can't just pray away this issue. I talked about that this past legislative session because it isn't going away. We tried with House Bill 3502 that was going to put $250 million into the Flood Resiliency Trust Fund, $125 million from the Rainy Day Fund, and another $125 million from the Income Tax Reserve Fund, both of which are capable of being tapped under these dire circumstances. Now, that measure wasn't taken up. It wasn't taken up, so in an effort to compromise, during our budget bill processions, put forth the Hornbuckle Amendment, along with my caucus, to appropriate $50 million from the Rainy Day Fund. Now, that measure had bipartisan support, but it only had Republican opposition. And I also want to set the record straight on the Rainy Day Fund. It was created in 1994. It was created also for that's what it was for. Since that point, $225 million has been used for it. So I'm not buying the line that it can't be used for that. I've also heard a nasty falsehood about our bond ratings. That's false. Credit agency ratings are highly unlikely to downgrade us if we're using the money for what it's appropriate for. That's what we're supposed to do. I get it. Supermajority is playing politics over the people. We're not going to stand for it. We don't care who gets the credit. It's not what we're here for. We just want to make sure that the job gets done for the people of West Virginia. And they deserve money in the Flood Resiliency Trust Fund. They need it now. I'm going to also pass this off to Evan Hansen so he can talk about more of our priorities and the obstacles in the way.
Thank you. I'm Delegate Evan Hansen from Morgantown. And one of the Democrats' top priorities is to ensure that every West Virginian has access to clean, safe drinking water. No matter what part of the state you live in, no matter your income, everybody deserves access to clean drinking water. And we're facing some obstacles in getting that done here in West Virginia. The minority leader and I sponsored a budget amendment to provide an additional $10 million for failing water systems across the state, and that was voted down on a party line vote. We're also facing obstacles at the federal level. One of the things we actually did in a bipartisan manner 2 sessions ago was pass a bill called the PFAS Protection Act, which is going to protect West Virginians against cancer-causing chemicals in their drinking water. But the issue is the state of West Virginia got a $1 million grant from the federal government, which the Trump administration terminated just a couple months ago. So that means less safe drinking water, potentially more cancer-causing chemicals in West Virginians' drinking water. I also wanted to touch on another priority of West Virginia Democrats, which is reducing our electric rates. This is a big deal across the entire state. And this is also something that we have a plan for. It's a priority of ours. And we had a vote on the House floor to bring a rate freeze up for debate in the House of Delegates. And again, on a party line vote, the Republicans refused to take up the bill that would freeze West Virginians' electric rates. And at the federal level, what we're seeing in this bill that's moving through Congress now, this big, ugly bill, are provisions that are going to make electricity even more expensive. So we need action at the state level, we need action at the federal level to protect drinking water and to reduce our electric rates. And next up, I want to introduce Delegate Hollis Lewis from Kanawha County.
Thanks, Delegate Hanson, Hollis Lewis, Kanawha County. And when we talk about, what's going on with Medicaid, I want to preface this by saying this isn't a big, beautiful bill. This isn't an ugly bill. This isn't a moral bill. This is a bill in which 17 million plus Americans are going to lose access to health care. And again, this isn't a Democratic issue. This isn't a Republican issue. This isn't a left or right. This is a top versus bottom. We're in a situation where, again, the working poor, those who need access to health care will lose that, while the ultra wealthy will continue to enrich themselves. And what does this mean for West Virginia? Well, it's going to mean that approximately 75,000 West Virginians will lose access to health care. Another 80,000+ will lose access to SNAP benefits. We're going to have approximately 7 rural hospitals closed. That's hospitals in places like Logan, in Pocahontas County, in Welch, here in Kanawha County, in Montgomery. Is going to mean healthcare worker jobs are going to be lost. That's going to mean that the proximity into your healthcare facility is going to be lost. So if you have an emergency, you may be forced to drive hours. And again, that could result in more West Virginians deaf and being sick. And while the GOP continues to kowtow to the federal administration, West Virginians continue to lose. Instead of developing a plan to address these issues, instead of calling for a special session so we can fix these problems that are on the horizon for West Virginia, we're focused on issues like DEI. Well, what happens when people DIE because they don't have access to health care, when they can't afford the health care, when they have to, again, drive miles and miles in order to address an emergency? In addition, we have a government who continues to usurp the power of the legislation by closing office like Equal Opportunity, by not funding the office of Herbie Henderson Office of Minority Affairs, because they say it's not closing, but it's not being funded. It's not a line item like it was in years past. And again, we didn't recognize things like Juneteenth while giving state employees an extra day off for the July 4th. And mind you that local governments are going to have to fit that bill because they're going to have essential workers working on that day. So again, while all this, we have no plan to address economic development. And we're in a situation in which West Virginians will continue to lose unless we do things that are going to prioritize West Virginia and not prioritize a federal administration that obviously doesn't seem like cares about West Virginia. And to address those issues further, Delegate Mike Push.
Morning. My name is Mike Pushkin. I'm representing the 54th Delegate District, and I am the chair of the West Virginia Democratic Party. And as Delegate Lewis just stated, yes, the governor yesterday made the announcement he is going to give state workers a day off tomorrow, July 3rd, ahead of the state holiday. And while I find it disappointing that he couldn't find it in his heart or in his budget to do the same on Juneteenth, did not recognize the Juneteenth holiday, even though this is a state born out of the conflicts of the Civil War. Historically, Juneteenth means a lot to West Virginia. While he couldn't find it in the budget to give state workers a day off for Juneteenth, he is giving state workers a day off tomorrow ahead of the July 4th holiday. And that's a good thing, but unfortunately, many of our state workers might have to use that day off to look for other jobs in the public sector, in the private sector, because as they look at their paychecks this week, they're going to be getting a pay cut because this governor and the Republicans in the legislature failed to address PEIA during the regular session. So that's effectively a pay cut for our state workers. They're seeing that now in their paycheck. And while there's been a lot of talk of a special session to address PEIA, so far that's all it's amounted to is talk. There's been no groundwork laid for a special session on PEIA, and the governor and the Republican supermajority is simply kicking the can down the road. So yeah, the state workers might need to use that extra day off to apply for other jobs where they're treated with more respect than we're now treating our state workers. Unfortunately, they need not look for jobs in the energy sector, as we're seeing more and more of our coal miners getting laid off every day under this governor and under this president. Energy incentives, tax incentives that were put in place just a few short years ago were now wiped away, are being wiped away by this big ugly bill that's passing through Congress right now. And while just a few short years ago, we were seeing huge announcements of economic development across every couple of weeks in this state, that was while the Democrats had control of Congress and the White House. And you're just not seeing that now. No, instead, we're seeing a bill that crushes West Virginia, passed the Senate yesterday and moved back to the House of Representatives. A bill that has really been the nail in the coffin on a lot of West Virginia jobs. So our state workers need not look in the energy sector. They need not look in healthcare, because we're going to possibly lose 7 rural hospitals when this bill passes. This bill is bad for West Virginia. It is, in fact, the only job that this bill, the big ugly bill, the only job that it has created was the job that Moore Capito was appointed to just 4 minutes after his mother voted to pass the bill out of the Senate. Look, West Virginia deserves more than self-serving politicians. We need real public servants that look out for all of us here in West Virginia. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to our minority leader, Sean Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mike. Let's be real. We need balance. Our state needs balance. It takes two to tango, and no political party has a monopoly on all ideas. It just simply doesn't exist. And I want you all to listen to me, and listen to me very closely. Selfish politicians have tried to pit people against each other, and we're not going to do it. They've done it for their own good, their own power, and we're tired of it. We want to work together. That's it. I'm here now. I'm here to lead on that. Cut the games, cut the lies, cut the rhetoric. Let's get down to business. Let's put people first, and let's do this together. Our first call to action is to do our job on flooding issues, because our president's plan is to probably do away with FEMA. And that's the same FEMA that back in 2016, under then President Barack Obama and that federal administration, pumped $400 million into the state of West Virginia and helped families and helped to put lives back together. We have to do that. We have to band together. We have to do it now. And it starts with us. It starts with us here at the state. We've got to work with our cities, our counties, and our federal legislators to get that done for the people of West Virginia. Second is to work together to save our state's healthcare system. Again, it's in dire straits. Our people, our small business owners, and our hospitals, they need our help. Third is to fix PEIA for our state workers. And last but not least, West Virginia lost the most jobs last year out of any state in the country under the current and past leadership in this state. So it's past time that Democrats have a seat at the table. It's past time that they have a seat at the table, because we have seen that Republicans alone cannot get the job done. Again, we have to work together. And so I want to be clear on this issue, but I also want to thank all of you all for your time, and God bless. Any questions? Thank you all.